Hello and welcome to our next tutorial. So in this one we're going to look at controlling our non-player character. So this is our non-player character here. We looked at creating them in Blender and if we look at the actual character here, when we imported the character, so it came in as an FBX file, we had to set up the animations. So the animations are all coming out of this one timeline here called orc non-player character 1, and we have 3 of them. So frames 100 to 149 are looped, and they're the idle cycle. This is the fire cycle that we have. Some 60 to 94. This is the walk cycle, and this is the very boring idle cycle. So we have the 3 of them. Now let's see what we've done with that character. So first thing we have here is we have an empty. So the empty is just placed in the 3D world, and then the character, so this non-player character, has been dragged in and dropped inside it. And this is the kind of the components here. And on the non-player character here we have an animator, and the animator has an animator controller called non-player character 1. So let's have a look at that. So this is it here. So it's got the 3 animations in there. So how did we do that? Well, we right clicked and we went create animator controller, and then that it asked us to give it a name. We called it non-player character 1, and then this was empty. It has had these 3 states in it, and we opened up this guy here and we dragged in fire, idle and walk that we had created, and then we've set up a relationship between them. So how have we done that? Well, over here under parameters we've gone plus and we've added in a bool, and so I can give that any name I want, and basically that can be a trigger, so I can delete that. So I've got idle, fire and walk. All the spelling of them is important because we're going to reference them in script. And over here I've basically said when the condition to play this animation, so when idle is true, play that animation. This one here is a transition, so if I'm in the idle state but then fire becomes true, I go to the fire state. Now on all of these I have this has exit time. I have that turned off. By default that's turned on. And what that does is it lets the animation play to its end before transitioning. So if you had a very long animation like an idle cycle that was 20 or 30 seconds long, you don't want, when the player presses forward to walk, to have to wait for another 20 seconds to pass before it starts walking. You want it to happen instantly, so you want to turn that off. There has exit time. And all these are just set up, they're very simply yes or no. So fire is going to transition into walk when walk is true. Walk will transition into fire when fire is true. Walk transitions to idle when idle is true, and idle transitions to walk when walk is true. So by default you have nothing over here. You have to hit the plus and it'll add a condition. So that's how that's set up there. So we've got our 3 Boolean parameters that we've named, and then we have right clicked on these and said made transition, and then we've clicked onto the other state and then selected the transition and put the condition on. And this is called npc1.controller. So here, that's what this is. This is sort of a visual way to control the relationship between the different animations that your character has. So now what we want to do is we want to control them with a script. So let's have a look at that script. So this is it here, and it's got a good bit in it. So it's not that long, it's only 46 lines, but so let's see. So first thing, I've put this in here, so unityengine.ai. Now why is that in? Well, because we're going to use this thing here, a steering target, or actually that's my own variable, but this thing here, a Nav Mesh Agent. So before we have a look at the script, let's go back and look at what else is going on in Unity to make this character work. So this is the actual character, and it's this mesh, etc. But we've placed it inside an empty, and on that empty I've placed a Nav Mesh Agent. So a Nav Mesh Agent is a pre-made sort of capsule or pre-made object in Unity that has that will allow us to control this character across part of the ground that we designate to be the level. So let me select my level here and go to navigate. So in order to create this sort of these extra planes on the world, and this is where the non-player character, so the Nav Mesh Agent, can walk on this, and that's called the Nav Mesh. So how did we make that? Well, if I select my sci-fi level here, if I go to, it's not an agent, and it's not an object, because this is the sort of the overarching object is the FBX file. But if I select, for example, no, not them, this here, so that's my corridor, you can see that I've turned on navigation static. And if I select the room, that's navigation static. You can see here I've got a door, and I haven't turned that on to be navigation static. The door frames I haven't turned on, so the character is not going to try and walk on these. So only the objects that have like a floor that you want the nav mesh or the non-player character to walk across. And this is a very nice way to control areas that, like, you might have a non-player character that you just want to stay in the corridor, so then you wouldn't add it to the room, you'd only add it to the corridor. And then once you've done that, once you've selected it, then you go in and you press bake, and then it'll create these extra meshes that are only visible when you click onto this navigation tab. So that's how we've sort of set up the area or the space where the non-player character can move. And then on the actual, this empty here, we have our non-player character, or our Nav Mesh Agent. Okay. Now the Nav Mesh Agent itself, we can set how fast it is. So this is going to control the speed of it. By default, I think it's like 3.5 or something. It's quite fast. And then to that, we've added our own script, or I've added my own script. So I'm going to look at this script now. So, let's try and go through this. I can take that line out, actually. It's just confusing. So I'll come back to this in a moment. So I'm saying agent. So I've declared a Nav Mesh Agent as a variable, and I can only do that because I've loaded in the AI library. So I've said there's an object that is a Nav Mesh Agent, and set its destination. And this is a pre-built function into Unity. So if I have a Nav Mesh Agent, I can set a destination for it. And where is the destination? It's the player position. And how do I know the player position? Well, up here I've declared a variable, which is a transform, a moving object, and that's the player. And in Unity, if we look here, we can see that the variable that we've made player, we've dropped the player, we've dragged and dropped the player in over here. So that's the object that's going to be my destination for my my non-player character. He's going to come moving towards the player. Now, I've also created, and this is very much like the turret script that we had. It's the same line of code. So I've said distance equals vector tree.distance, and the 2 points I'm measuring between is myself, or the non-player character in this instance, so transform, and then the player position. So I'm trying to find the distance between the player and the non-player character. And then here we're just going to say, if the distance is a certain amount, do certain things. before I do that, I just want to show you this. So I've turned off update rotation on the Nav Mesh Agent, and the reason I've done that is the Nav Mesh Agent was moving towards my character sideways, so it wasn't turning. Well, like it was moving towards the character correctly, but the mesh for the non-player character wasn't pointing in the right direction. So what I've done here, this little line of code here says transform that rotation. So rotate the character, the object that this script is on, which is going to be the non-player character. So rotate this object, and how do I rotate it? Well, its velocity is going to be, so its look rotation is going to be a normalized version of its velocity. So its velocity is basically a line towards me. So it's trying to travel on a path towards the player. So and it's going to be normalized. So it's going to look along that line. So that means it'll look in the correct direction. So it's going to walk. So the direction it's moving in is the direction it's going to face. So I've turned off its automatic kind of facing, and I'm kind of forcing it to look in the direction that it's walking or moving. And then finally what we've done here is, and this is a reference back to in the Animator Controller, these three things here, these parameters. So if one is true, play this animation. If the other is true, play that animation. So we're just referencing that in code. Now to do that, we have to declare an animator up here. So we're saying it's an Animator Controller, and in this script it's going to be called Animator. So whereas down here we're saying, like in the controller, set the bool fire to be true, or walk to be false, or idle to be false. And you'll notice that they're all just one of them is true and two of them are false. And when do we do that? When we're saying if distance is smaller than 5, so if the character is quite close, fire. If the distance is between 5 and 10, then walk towards me. And then if the distance is bigger than 10, then play the idle cycle. So we're basically out of range. The non-player character is going to stand still and not follow us. And then how do we get it to stand still? Well, up here we had set the destination to be the player's position. So here we're saying if it gets close enough to me, then make its destination its own position. So it's not trying to move anywhere. It's just going to try and stay where it already is. If I'm within range, within 10, then try and go to the player's position. And then if I'm beyond 10, if I'm out of range, then again stop, and its destination is its own position. So let's have a look at that in game. So this script is on the non-player character. It's actually on the empty, and I've dropped in the player as the player as the target. The agent is the character as well, because it's looking for the Nav Mesh Agent, and then saying where's the animator, and the animator is this one here. It's on the mesh of the character, the FBX. So that's where all of those components come from, and the distance it will work out itself. So let's press play. So our non-player character is actually behind us, and you can see he's playing his fire animation because he's within 5 of me, but he's not moving towards me. And you can see as I move around, he's looking at me. So now let's move away. So now I'm between 5 and 10, and it's walking towards me. And then when it gets within 5, it'll fire again. So I'm still within range. It's going to walk towards me and fire. Oh, struggling with the fire there. There we go. And now I'm going to try and get out of range. Now I'm going to get shot from behind when I do that. But now you can see it's playing its idle cycle, and it's no longer. Let's see if we can get out of range this way. Yeah, so I'm out of range now, so you can see the character standing up straight. I'm playing its idle cycle. If I move within range, it'll walk towards me, and then when it gets within oh, I ran out of time. If it gets within a certain range, it'll start firing. Now what I haven't added in there is the character actually firing, but you can do that. You already have the technology to do that. So if we look at our turret, the turret has a firing point, so you need to put that in front of the gun that the character is holding, so you need to make another empty. And then we had on our turret, we had a script. Now we don't need some of the bits of this. We don't want the hand or the gun to be turning and facing. But we can, if you use bits of this script, you'll be able to create a new script that makes the non-player character turn, and this has a firing rate, so you'll be able to determine that as well. So you have all of the bits you need to make the non-player character actually fire a bullet at the player without using any other additional scripts. You'll have to create a new one, but you can just copy and paste from the existing ones you have here into your new script. Okay, so that's just an overview on getting the non-player character to use the Nav Mesh Agent and follow the character around, and also to set the different animations to play at different stages in terms of range from the character. Okay, oh, there's one last thing that I've done here, is I've put in this line here. So I've just made sure that when the character is going to fire at me, I've put in this one line of code here, which is look at player. So sometimes when the Nav Mesh Agent stops moving, if you look here, we're saying when you're moving, look at the player along the path that you're moving. So if here it has stopped, then this path has stopped. So if we were to, we could potentially go around the non-player character and have it not fire at us. So this forces the non-player character to look at the player. Like it's the same line of code we used on the turret, and that, you know, ensures that the non-player character is firing in the correct direction. Okay, we'll leave it there for now.